Hey, y'all know who it is.
Yeah,
It's your boy, Pastor Jamel, aka The Messenger. Sobriety Driven, we back.
yeah.
Episode 3, let's go.
My pops always told me I wouldn't amount to ish. But look at me, Joe, I'm a hell of a Smith. And dealing with actions I will never regret. These are my issues and I wear them to death. All of my scars, I hold them in my chest. Cause if I show you my heart, you probably think of me less. But I could care less, I made it this far, which only shows y'all the message is blessed. I came back bowling when I was knocked down. Some saw my struggle, some never came around. But it's cool, brushed them off like they was all dead hairs. Some crowns you gotta wash like they was all dead ears, yeah. I pray my words never fall on deaf ears, let's make it clear. My words cutting they pace. I'm just reflecting, talking to the man in the mirror. Cause the man who gave me life is no longer a figure, I guess. Nights like this I wish that this pain would fade away. And nights like this I wish that these tastes would fade away. Yeah. Hey, yo, Des.
Yo, what's up, man? Y'all know who it is, man. Hey, yo, man, welcome back to Sobriety Driven, man. I am your host, Jamel Smith. Hey, man, listen, this right here is my actual first time doing video and recording at the same time. Somebody told me to, get comfortable with yourself, enhance this, and let's get this ball rolling. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I am not a confident person in doing videos. Like, someone has to be recording me in order for me to be comfortable. Recording myself, I'm not really comfortable with. I think I have a subconscious about, how I look on things. I don't think I'm the only one. I think everybody out there understand where I'm coming from. So no need to prolong that, right? But yeah, man, listen, welcome back to episode 3 of Sobriety Driven. Listen, man, my last episode was a very emotional episode for me. It actually did something to me. You know what I'm saying? Actually, after listening to it, and even in the process of going through it, but when I really listened to it, I felt I ain't gonna hold you. I felt a little bit, you know what I'm saying, maturity in me, because it's just like my spiritual growth. I've always been fighting to get to a mature level in my spiritual walk, and being able to just share and be open with, you know what I'm saying, people that I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? To be vulnerable with people I may never see or meet, and to know that, this is a public broadcast where I could share my testimony. And I'm hoping that what I'm sharing with you also is developing you, transforming you, renewing you, refreshing you, because that's what I'm here for. That's, I want to be able to share my testimony of my recovery with you, to be able to help you get through yours. And today I want to talk about acceptance. I want to talk about understanding acceptance in your recovery. I jotted down some notes, and what I have wrote is, my acceptance in recovery. It was opening up my heart to face reality, knowing that I was losing to life, to my addiction, and if I wanted to live, I had to accept that my life was a straight mess. I had to accept that the way I was living, it sounds so digital, it's annoying. I had to accept the way that I was living was not the way that I wanted it to be. So it was like my life choices that I was making, the decisions that I was making, really wasn't good choices. They wasn't good choices at all. Being affected by a lot of things from my past, which I had no idea of. I mean, I had an idea of it, but I didn't at the time in my addictions realize that, these were the things that drove me to my addictions. And it was just hard accepting those facts. You know what I mean? And when I got to points where I had to come into acceptance, I had to also learn that I had to let go of the shame. I had to let go of the blame, and I had to learn to show myself compassion and kindness. Now, those things I really didn't know how to do for myself. I think I was able to show compassion to others. I think I was able to show kindness to others. Um, but that shame and self blame, I struggled with that. I really struggled with that. I put a lot of what I was going through on myself as if it was like my fault. And some of it was. Some of the decisions I made were my fault. Um, but there was some things that I had no control of. There was some things I just, you know, couldn't change. And I had to accept my past. And I had to learn to allow my past to become part of who I am today. I was so much in denial of who I was then. It's crazy because it's like, when you're telling a story or something like that, and it's like, you're glorifying like the good days, never really the bad ones. But it's crazy because the bad days will be the ones that we bring up. You know what I'm saying? When we're going through our emotions or our moments, it's like, for instance, like, uh, yo, you know, I remember when people used to ask me like, "Oh, so what do you remember about your dad as a kid?" I used to always say, "I just remember when he used to beat me." You know what I mean? I got thrown across the living room, thrown into a wall, all this other stuff. But then I never really reflected on the good times that I had with my dad because in the back of my mind, in the bank of my memory, it was just bad moments. And I would reflect more on the bad moments than I would reflect on the good moments. And I think that's what drove me further into my addictions. And I blamed myself. Like I was a bad kid. Was I a bad kid? Did he not love me? Maybe he didn't love me. Maybe he cared more about my sisters than he cared about me. It was just so many things that I would put on myself, and it was like the more I put those things on me, the more like I cracked bottles, the more I went and bought cocaine and I got high and things like that. And I remember I was going to this program for anger management. Um, well, actually, it was like anger management, domestic violence type of thing that I had to go to for a group, and I had to be there for like 6 weeks. And I remember them saying that at some point in your life, you have to accept your wrongs. You know what I mean? And I always was so busy defending myself. You know what I mean? That I didn't see that point in my life, like where like I have to accept the fact, like, yo, bro, okay, like, yeah, this person violated you, but you you went to the extent of violating them more. Like this person spoke words to you, you use physical actions to where someone said something to you and then you went and you reacted in a violent way. Like I don't care, you could have threw a cup across the living room or smashed the TV or kicked a hole in the wall or something like that just because somebody said something to you. But in your defense, you would say, "Well, I was angry. That person got me angry. Like they pissed me off, so I reacted, and that was their consequence. That's what they get for violating me or whatever, whatever, whatever." But not realizing, like, yo, bro, accountability. You had to accept the fact that you was wrong, and so quick to blame other people. But me, I don't know, I beat myself up a lot. Like it was like almost like as if it was just me in the ring and I'm standing in front of me and I'm just going to work on myself. You know what I mean? For every mistake that I made, for every downfall that I had. And I had to really relearn, relearn that, yo, everything wasn't my fault. You know what I mean? And I couldn't hide behind the shame anymore. Like I had to let that go. You know what I mean? The guilt tripping myself. Like I want to go back so far and just, you know, like open up and share this with y'all, but I'm trying to like just focus on, the plan today. But yeah, so it was letting go of the shame and self blame. And the moment I started doing that was when I realized 2019, okay, we got to go to this program, Teen Challenge, and we got to get clean. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just too much to bear. It was too much to hold on to anymore. So it was just like my life was going down a downward spiral. I was going down a downward spiral. And at some point, as the kids would say today, I was going to crash out. I was going to crash out, man. And it was going to be a bad crash out. I already had took my Hyundai Sonata going up 84 into Hartford. I think it was 84 into Hartford. At one point, at dropping my ex-wife off, we got into an argument, and it just like drove me mad. I took a nip, and at one of the exits, I just saw the dip, and I just drove my car into the guardrail, like just wanting it to just go off the cliff and just end it. And that was, yeah. I just blacked out. My mind wasn't right. And as I'm driving, I'm blaming myself. You know what I mean? I'm putting all the shame on me, and I was just waddling in my sorrow. I was just like sitting there, and I'm crying as I'm driving, and I was just like, yo, this is it. Like I can't do this no more. Like I am just overwhelmed with all the lies, all the distrust, all the, like, you know what I'm saying? The disloyalty and the betrayal, and here I am doing my best, trying to do my best to be a better man. I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes in my past marriage, but it was like I was trying to transform and convert into somebody new. And the more I tried to do that, I just felt like I couldn't get over these humps. You know what I'm saying? Because it would go back to, oh, won't you just go have another drink? You know what I mean? Won't you just go take another bump? It was just like so much guilt tripping, and I was just like, yo, bro, I couldn't take it. So I tried to take my own life at the time, and it was just a moment of despair for me. Like I didn't want to live anymore, and it just overtook me, and I don't know, spiritually what I was feeling. I can't tell you what I was feeling at that moment, but I just felt like life was just not it for me anymore. And yeah, man, it drove me to that point to where, that took place, and then trying to OD on cocaine took place, and by the grace of God, I'm still here. And it was just like, what's wrong with me? That's what I always would say. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't people love me for me? But then it was like, why can't you love you for you? Like, why can't you be there for you? Why can't you show up for you? Why can't you make it happen for you? And before all the drugs and alcohol, I was just 16 getting released from Long Lane. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming out of an institution from the time I was 10 years old to the time I was 16. That's 6 years. I'm coming out of an institution, and I have no idea, you know what I'm saying, what's going on in the real world. So before then, all this didn't take place. I wasn't this person. And being homeless, my dad kicked me out of the house. I had nowhere to go. I was still in cars, sleeping in cars. I was sleeping on couches, sleeping in my friend's basement. Like it was eating out of, it was bad. I was eating food like from places like behind restaurants and stuff like that. See, like, shame. I don't even want to tell y'all that I ate out of the garbage. Like, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? These were the things that I dealt with because I had a persona, I had a reputation, and nobody saw that. Nope. I showed up on the block, fresh, fresh cut, smiling, but inside I had all this blame and all this shame, and nobody really saw what I was going through. And like it got worse as I got older. So those things became attached to me unknowingly, and I just was just like, raging and lashing out with drugs and alcohol. And it took me deeper into it. And when I got saved in 2005, I thought all those things, like, I thought God came in and transformed me and took all those things away. And I said, okay, God, I let go of the shame. I let go of the blame. You know what I'm saying? I put it all behind me, but I really didn't. I just covered it. See, there's a difference between letting it go and covering it. And that's something that we're going to get into as well, if we have time.
Oh no. Good Lord, we need Jesus. Look at how we living. We can't put no trust in it. The government be tripping. What's up with all the Christians? Why they stuck inside the building? This is about the kingdom. This ain't about religion. Oh, you woke and I'm asleep cause you think the faith fiction. Well, I can't make you believe, but the day you gon' listen, it was already written and it's in the book. I see the word of God's description everywhere I look. In the name of Jesus, power over sickness. He overcame the world and triumphed over the wicked. And then he gave us his spirit. The moment he said it's finished, it was already finished. So I'ma be a witness, we win it.
They hung him on the cross.
They took the son's life and
just like these haters be killing me.
I'm just like him.
I'm a diamond in the rough.
The sun's shining,
but I'm covered in the blood.
I'm a blood diamond.
Get litty if you a new creature. Devil steady trying to get you back by Felicia. You the salt, set it off like Latifah. Came out the ground like Jesus.
I'm a blood diamond.
Yeah, I find it funny how the last situation that only resulted in what you could get from me. You say you still love me, removing all the weeds from the crops and they still coming. Told the sun a lot over your life and it's still sunny. Maybe that went over your head. If you get up out of IG and read your Bible instead, maybe you get it. Not trying to be funny, I hope this lead to conviction. That sure ain't fiction and you should stop playing with it. I'm
just taking it to that level, you know what I mean? Of like, where was the self-control in it all? There was none for me. You know what I mean? The drugs had control of me. The alcohol had control of me. The people even had control of me because I got introduced to cocaine at a cocaine party. It wasn't even something that I was into. You know what I'm saying? But the moment I did it, it was just like a release. It was just like everything that I was feeling. Why my dad kicked me out? Why this happened to me? Like, why wasn't nobody there for me when I got out of Long Lane to pick me up? Why did I get rearrested when I was only trying to help a friend? Like, it was like, why all these things happened to me? And then, I never got an answer. So, I answered myself, started self-medicating. And these were tools that at the time I didn't know of because I was just so caught up in the addiction. And it's so, they say, oh, sin is bad. No, like, the way I was living, it was fun. You know what I'm saying? And I was living. At least I thought I was. You know what I mean? And I didn't have the ability to move past the guilt or the anger or the mistakes. It was like, you know what I'm saying? Screw the lesson. I'll take the consequence because that's just the way I was living. You know what I mean? If anybody knows, it was just like nobody cares about me, so why am I going to care about myself? But that was the wrong train of thought, And I can recall where I had some friends who came to me and said, hey, bro, like, hey, you going under. Like, but I'm looking at them like, y'all the ones who introduced me to this. Now, all of a sudden, I'm going under. So I say, y'all coming under with me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all not gonna bring me here and all of a sudden try to be like, nah, we just gonna skate. We gonna go do something else. No. Y'all introduced me to this, so come get this bump. Y'all gonna party with me. But not understanding like They was partying for different reasons, and I was partying for another reason. I wasn't partying to have fun. I was partying to drown my sorrows. I was partying to drown my pain and my anger, not realizing that, yo, it was just sitting. You know, I told my son, it's crazy. I just have to throw this in there, just like side note. I had told my son, I was like, yo, when you turn off the lights in a corner and you don't even need anything in a corner, right? You could just have a house that sits in the dark all day. And I said, it begins to grow mold because there's no light shining on it. So I realized I was like, that was my life. You know what I mean? There was no light shining in my life. So the anger was my mold. The guilt was my mold. The shame was my mold. The self-blame was my mold. The pity parties was my mold. And there was no light. There was no light until I met Jesus Christ. I'm going to say that just like that. If you're in my podcast and you're coming over here to listen to me, you're going to get a whole lot of Jesus over here because he is the one who did it for me, first and foremost. So let me start acknowledging him when I open up. I got to give glory to God for where I am right now, because if it wasn't for him, I would not be here. You know what I mean? Although I had to do some footwork, but I couldn't do the footwork without the light because you can't see in the dark. You know what I mean? I know some people say, oh, yeah, you can see in the dark. I'm not talking about that kind of dark. I could walk in the dark in my house, too. But I'm talking about that deep, cold dark. You know what I'm saying? That moldy dark. You know what I mean? Where it's like you need the light to get out. And that's what it took. You know what I mean? So just going back to, like, you know, the guilt, the anger, the depression, you know, the pity parties and things like that. It was just something that I just put on myself. And, you know, we have to get to a point to where acceptance in our addiction becomes, you know, where we become accountable for that. You know what I mean? Yeah, we might have went through some stuff, some trauma as kids, and some things might have happened to us as adults and things like that. But, you know, at some point, it has to become a, you know what I mean, you thing. You know what I mean? You got to look at you. You can't look at anybody else. You got to say, hey, look, this is my problem, my situation. How am I getting out of this? If you know this is not where you don't want to be any longer. I got to the point in 2019 to where I said, this is it. Because things that were happening to me, people were saying I was crazy. You know, you're making this up. This isn't real. You're drinking, you're sniffing coke, you're popping pills. All this is an illusion. No, but the things that were happening to me were actually happening to me. Like, I knew that my ex-wife was cheating on me, right? I didn't know with who, you know what I'm saying? And I would talk to people like, and say like, I have this feeling, bro. But in the midst of me having these conversations, I'm sniffing coke, I'm drinking, I'm popping pills, I'm doing all this wild stuff. I'm out late night. I'm out smutting and doing all this, excuse me, but hey, that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Doing all this wild stuff. And it was only because the hurt people. So I felt like if you hurt me, I'll go hurt you. But it didn't make me feel good. You know what I mean? I mean, for even doing the substance abuse, the alcohol and the drugs, like, you know, I would buy a bag because I felt depressed and knowing like, yo, this isn't going to make me feel better. I knew that. I knew it wasn't going to make me. And I know y'all feel the same way. Y'all be sitting there thinking like, yo, I'm going to go do this. And then you know for a fact that it's only going to make matters worse. But you don't care because you're just like, all right, whatever. This is how I'm feeling right now. And I just need something to let this go. You know what I'm saying? And you're not accepting the reality of what's happening to you. You're avoiding it. And that's what I was doing. I was avoiding the reality. But now I'm in a place to where I accept my reality. Like when my mom died, that was reality. I was like, wait a minute. Hold up. I was just with you in a hospital. You held your grandbaby for the first time. Y'all was sharing chicken wings. Y'all was laughing, playing. And now all of a sudden, you're gone. The day after Mother's Day, you're gone. How? We were just here. I fed you your last ice cream. And it was just what happened. And I had to Sorry, guys. I had to accept the reality of the passing of my mom. And there was other things that were happening to me and my marriage with my beautiful wife now, Rose. This is my second marriage, my last marriage. I'm not doing this again, baby. We in this. We locked in. That's it. I had to learn. I had to relearn how to cope. You know what I mean? With these emotions, with these feelings. Was I angry? Yes. And I know a lot of y'all say, he's a pastor and I'm about to tell y'all some things. I had a mouth. I had a filthy mouth. You know what I mean? And I could sting you with words, and I know how to provoke you and get you upset because that's what I did in the streets. But what I'm saying is that at that time, the man in me wanted to just, I just wanted to be gone. Like, I want this feeling to be gone. I want this pain to be gone. I was like 3 weeks in. I was depressed. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't move. My wife was telling me I stink. I didn't take showers. It was just like, man, listen, if you lost a parent, my condolences. I used to always tell people I don't know what that feeling feels like, but I know what that feeling feels like now. I miss my biological mom every day. I miss her because I wish I had more time to spend with her. There's a whole story behind it all, but yes, you know what I mean? You can conquer those urges in those moments. What I did was, and even though I was around my brothers and sisters who was turning up and they was letting loose and all that, I had to look in the corner at my wife. I had to look at my children. I had to look at what I've overcome and my accomplishments and say to myself, like, bro, yeah, you could take a shot. This is coffee, you know what I mean? But you could take a shot, and for that one moment, we know where that one shot is going to lead us. Is it worth it? Acceptance. Is it worth it? No, it's not. Especially if you're fighting to come out of it. It's not worth it. For those who are like, saying like, yo, bro, how do I do this? I'm telling you, mentally, you have to put yourself in a safe space to actually get the help that you need to, you know what I mean, start your progress. You have to trust the process. You know what I mean? It's a hard process, but you have to trust it. Some people don't want to go to counseling or therapy when it comes down to, like, dealing with their addiction because it draws out old things. It brings up familiar things, and you got to understand the reason why it was so easy for you to do what it is that you were doing in your addictions is because you didn't want to face it. You didn't want to deal with it. So it was easy for you to take a shot. It was easy for to pop a pill or take a bump or, stick a needle in your arm. It was, I have a friend who promised me he would never do dope again, and he went home. He had a 2-year daughter, and I remember he was my bunkie. I prayed with him constantly. This was in Teen Challenge. I prayed with him on a constant basis. You know what I mean? Gave him advice and stuff like that. And he completed the program, had a good job. And my man wasn't even home for like a month. And stuck that needle in his arm for the last time. His daughter had just turned 2 that year. And it was like, I looked at it and at myself. And I'm looking at his body in this casket, and I'm like, I can't go out like this. I can't allow my story to be that it ended to drugs and alcohol. I can't. Even though after that I stumbled and went back to drinking, I still said to myself, even in the process, I know I had a relapse. I know I stumbled, but I always picked myself back up. And I'm not saying this to say that I'm better than my brother. That's my brother. Rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? I loved him like he was my own flesh and blood. But what I'm saying is it was when do we come to the realization that, you know what I'm saying, we have to accept our reality and say enough is enough. If you don't want to live for you, live for someone that you love. And I understand I said earlier, how can, you know what I'm saying? Why are you always expecting people to love you and you can't love yourself? That is very important. Self-care is very important. You have to learn to love yourself. But yo, find a why to live. Find something. I don't care if it's your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your uncle, your auntie, your cat, your dog, your fish. I don't care what it is. Find something to live for. You know, I told God that there's no way that you transform my life the way that you did for me to go back to being a drug addict or out in the streets ripping and running like a mad dog and just lose there. At some point in my life, I told myself, I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of losing. You know what I mean? And I had to learn to personally forgive myself for the things that I was going through. You know, forget forgiving people. I had to learn to forgive myself first. I can't forgive you if I didn't honestly forgive myself first. That'd be a whole lie. You know what I'm saying? And as crazy as it sounds, some people would say, well, how do you forgive yourself for something that you didn't do to yourself? You forgive yourself because you feel like you were the reason that it happened to you. Most kids nowadays blame themselves if mommy and daddy split. I heard my son say that. I feel like, yo, my mom and dad split because of me. And I said, nope, that's a lie. Me and your mom did not split because of you. We split because we had our own personal issues, right? And I had to remind my sons and my daughters these things because they blamed themselves. And it had nothing to do with them at all. But when you look back at your life, you thought the same thing. When my dad used to abuse me, I used to think the same thing. I'd be like, yo, this man just doesn't love me. He just doesn't care about me at all. But I didn't realize then as a kid what was going through his mind mentally, what he was going through emotionally, the struggles that he had, the demons that he had to face and challenge and overcome. It was only until I got maybe like in my 30s, 35, that I started understanding things. Like, yo, I had to start questioning things. Like, you know what I mean? Why are we wired this way? And it was then I realized, like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Lord, help me to forgive myself so I can forgive my father, so I can forgive my mother, so I can forgive my brother, so I can forgive my sisters, the teachers who made fun of me, the students who picked on me and bullied me in elementary school. Lord, I need to go that far back and forgive myself and forgive them in the process. And those can be the most difficult moments when you're trying to come out of addiction because it brings you back. I remember I used to have meltdowns. Like, I used to shut down silently in my room or, you know what I mean? And just think like, why did I allow that to happen? And God was like, why did you allow what to happen? What do you mean? Why are you beating on yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, learn to love you, learn to appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? And in the process of that, you'll learn empathy. You know what I'm saying? In the process of that, like, I didn't know what empathy was. I didn't even know I was an empath. You know what I'm saying? Yo, if you're an empath, you already know you are going to go through the most difficult moments in life. And because you wear your heart on your sleeve. And people take your kindness for weakness. And this is, most people fall into addiction because of that. And because they go out there and they doing all this other stuff for people and they figure, oh, why these people ain't doing for me and nobody care about self-worth. And you feel selfless. Like, you don't feel worth it. You don't feel worthy. Like, you know what I mean? You don't feel accepted. Learn to accept yourself. If you're struggling with something right now, I want you to accept the reality of it. And I want you to dig deep, and I want you to get to the root of it and look at it and ask yourself, not why am I here? What do I have to learn? What is the lesson in this for me to learn here? What, like, you made the mistake. There's no point of pondering on why you did what you did. Did you learn from it? What did you learn from it? Because the more you ponder on it, guess what? You're gonna dive deeper into your addiction. You're gonna feel, when I used to drink, I used to get into arguments with my wife, Rose, when I was relapsing, and what I would always say to her before I went out on my binges, I say, "Oh, so you want to see the devil, or you want to meet my demons, or I'm the villain, so I'm already a bad guy, so let me go out there and show you." It was then when I realized in that bullpen, I realized like, yo, I have to accept that if I don't get my life right, this time I might not make it out of this cell, right? And nobody's going to be able to bomb me out. Nobody's going to pick up that phone and accept my call. Nobody's going to come rescue me. Like, I'm going to be hit. I'm going to miss. I thought it through. I said, I'm going to miss my daughter's first birthday. I'm going to miss her first steps. I thought about all that. And that's my why. My why was like, I don't want to miss my daughter's first steps. I don't want to miss her first words. I don't want to miss her first birthday, her first Christmas, her first Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? I didn't want to miss those things, and I didn't want my wife raising our kids without me. So I had to accept that, yo, this is not the way I want to live my life anymore. I want to walk my older daughter down the aisle. I want to see my sons grow into the superstars that I know who they are, who, you know what I'm saying, who they gonna be. You know what I mean? My daughter Danny Lee's a model. I want to see her, you know what I'm saying, walk into her greatness. I want to see my son, my other daughter Jaylani and Levi. I want to see them grow to be the people that, you know what I'm saying, God has called them to be. I want to be here for my grandbabies. I want to spoil them the way I didn't spoil my kids, even though they're spoiled. I don't even know how to explain that. My kids are spoiled. I guess their kids are just going to be able to get away with things that they weren't able to get away with. You know what I'm saying? So I had to acknowledge my problems and say, this is it. And what acknowledging those problems came with was letting go of the shame, letting go of the blame, you know what I'm saying? Showing myself compassion, being able to show myself kindness, treating myself the way that I would want people to treat me, because we always looking at, well, why can't you treat me this way? Or why don't you do this for me? Do it for yourself. Because when you start doing it for yourself, I promise you, what you're doing is, by you doing stuff for yourself, you're teaching people how to love you. You're teaching people how to appreciate you. You're teaching people how to accept you. People don't know how to treat you because you don't know how to treat yourself. I used to get told, and this is like a car phrase, if you step into somebody's car, because at one time somebody got into my car and they took their straw wrapper, literally took the straw wrapper, rolled it up and threw it on the floor. I said, bro, pick that up. My man looked at me and was like, yo, bro, you gonna spaz on me about, not spaz, but you gonna talk to me about picking up a wrapper, dropping it in your car, you got all this junk? I said, first of all, Negro, I got kids. That's my kids' mess. That don't mean you get to come in my car and make a bigger of a mess. That don't make no sense. But watch this. Because I didn't respect my own space, they didn't respect my space. It's like, this dude don't even, you know what I mean, take care of himself. So why should we care? That's how people will treat you. And that's how you're going to get treated until you start treating yourself with respect. You know what I mean? And that's just where it's at, man. You know what I mean? You have to start there. The first thing that I did was accept the fact that I was messed up. My life was messed up. I wasn't going nowhere. I wasn't being productive. Everything was just a mess. You know what I mean? And if I wanted to make it right, I had to get right. If I wanted things to change in my life, I had to change. If I wanted people to accept me, I had to accept myself. And it was only then that people started, like, you know, as an addict, you want people to pat you on your back. It kills me that we go to these meetings and they give out these chips, which I appreciate, because it's I wouldn't call it a reward. I just look at it as a reminder. You know what I mean? You get your first 30 days, then you get your 60 days, then you get your 90 days, then you get your month, Then you get your 2 months, and then probably 6 months or whatever, however it goes. And I was like, Lord, I don't want to be the one just collecting chips. You know what I'm saying? To remind myself of my greatness or how far I've come. You know what I mean? And so I started just acknowledging my own growth, acknowledging my own like success and recovery, and being able to go out and share my story and my testimony with people and tell them that addiction is real and recovery is possible. You know what I mean? So understand that no, people aren't going to trust you. People aren't going to love you. People aren't going to accept you. People aren't going to acknowledge you until you start doing all those things for yourself. I used to make t-shirts. I still make t-shirts, but I used to make this t-shirt called "This Is Me Versus Me." And that's what this is. Your recovery is you versus you, no one else. So don't look for a pat on the back. Don't look for a phone call to say, "Hey, bro, I see you. I just want you to know that I acknowledge that you're doing a great job." Because at the end of the day, to you, that may not even mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because to us, to certain people, when we in and addictions, we like, that's so cliche. Like, you know what I mean? You just saying it to say it to make me feel good. You know what I mean? Because you don't feel good about yourself, but they actually mean what they're saying. And the moment that you start to feel good about yourself and your own accomplishments and, overcoming, your addictions and recovery, that's when it all makes sense. I promise you. Listen, 40 minutes in, I'm cutting it under that. I'm not doing any more hour shows. I want to keep it at least 40 to 45 minutes. So once again, man, look, man, this is Sobriety Driven. I'm your host, Jamel Smith. You know what I'm saying? I just want to truly thank all of my supporters. Listen, man, this is episode 3. I'm feeling good. I'm loving this right now. And I just wanted to continue. And I want y'all to join the family. I want y'all to join me in this process, man. I got some great interviews set up that great people that I have who also been through addictions, that I'm going to just let them come on and share their testimony and their story about their recovery and so forth. So, yeah, man, just remember, man, acceptance is key to your recovery. Addiction is real and recovery is possible. This is Jamel Smith signing off. Stay in your sobriety because you are driven. Peace.